Data policies are used to make fields mandatory, read only, certain condition, from all the sources. When it comes to the UI policy, UI policies are used to make the fields mandatory, read only, display the fields, certain condition. Okay, in the client side, to the fields and related lists as well. Okay. UI policies are used to make the fields mandatory, read only, display the fields and relatedly set certain condition in the client side. Whereas whereas data policies are used to make fields mandatory, read only. These are not used to display the fields and related lists. You can't display the fields and related lists using data policy. Okay. But data policies work from all other sources. What are these all other sources? So let me just go here. Let me just go to the whiteboards. Go to the data policies. Okay. Well, here guys, this is a ServiceNow database. In the ServiceNow database is full of tables. So in every table, we can create the records. So we can create the records from different sources. You can create the records from the Excel sheet. You can create the records from the form. You can create the records using script. You can create the records using email, using record producers, using external systems, using virtual agent and chart. Okay. So here all the sources means these many sources. Excel sheet is actually one of the source. Form is actually one of the source. Script is actually one of the source. Email is actually one of the source. Record producers is actually one of the source. External system is actually one of the source. Virtual agent, chart. These are actually different sources. Data policy will work from all the sources. Data policy work from all the sources. Whereas UI policy work from only from. UI policy work only from the form. Form is client side, right? So here we can modify the meaning here. Condition in the form. In place of client side, we can write form here. So UI policies are used to make the fields mandatory, read only, display the fields and relatedly set condition in the form. UI policies work only from the form. Whereas data policy work from all other sources. All other sources means here Excel sheet comes, form, script, email, record producer, external systems, virtual agent, chart. So from these many sources, data policies will work. Only from the form UI policy will work. Okay. Yesterday, we did discuss one example. So let me just go to the HR case table. The HR case form, whenever you mark the state as resolved, resolution code and notes gets mandatory. That means whenever you keep the state value as resolved, you must enter resolution code and notes. Without entering resolution code and notes, you can't submit the form. When you are marking the state as resolved, you must provide the resolution code and notes. Without providing resolution code and notes, it will not allow you to submit the form. So here, without providing resolution code and notes, if I try to submit this form, is it allowing me? No. So that means UI policy is perfectly working fine from the form. Okay. So UI policy is perfectly working fine from the form. Okay. So let me create a record here. Created the record. Okay. So this is already created record. In this record, I am actually marking the state as resolved. I marked the state as resolved. I didn't provide the resolution code and notes. Without providing resolution code and notes, it won't allow you to resolve it. That is actually our client requirement. So our client requirement is when the state is resolved, resolution code and note should be mandatory. So it should be mandatory from all other sources, not only from the form. It should be mandatory from all other sources. Suppose if you are actually marking the state as resolved from the um, script, in the script also you must provide resolution code and notes. Suppose if you are marking the state as resolved using Excel sheet, you must also provide the resolution code and notes from the Excel sheet. So if you are not providing the resolution code and notes, it should not allow you to resolve it. So UI policy is perfectly working fine from the form. Okay. So now what I am doing is I am actually trying to make this particular state as resolved. I am trying to make this state as resolved from the script. I'm using background script. Okay. U underscore HR underscore case system ID. Here I am just providing gr.set value, state value as resolved. I'm not providing the resolution code and notes. Without providing resolution code and notes, I am keeping the state value as resolved using script. Script is actually one of the source. So without providing resolution code and notes, okay. So there is a data policy in place. Let me deactivate that. There is already a data policy that I created. Okay. So without providing resolution code and notes, I am able to mark the state as resolved. Without providing resolution code and notes, we should not be able to resolve it, but we are able to resolve it. Okay. Let me make the UI policies active. The UI policy is perfectly working fine from the form, but UI policy is not working from the script. When you are trying to keep the state value as resolved, if you don't provide the resolution code and notes, it is allowing you to resolve. That should not be the case. As per the client requirement, whenever the state is resolved, you must also provide the resolution code and notes from any source. Here, without providing resolution code and notes, we are able to resolve it, right? That means UI policy is not working from the script. UI policy is working only from the form. Okay. So let me just take one Excel sheet. So I am removing the resolution code and notes. Okay. Keeping the state value here as resolved. Okay. I am loading the data into ServiceNow. Okay. So in the Excel sheet, what is the number that we provided? This particular number, right? Take this particular number. Open this particular number. This particular record, I am actually trying to keep the state value as resolved. Okay. You can see the state is set as resolved. Without providing resolution code and notes, we are able to resolve it. Let me make it as duplicate. Let me load the Excel sheet again, guys. Okay. Let me go to load data again. From the Excel sheet, I am trying to keep one particular record state as resolved. Okay. I have marked the state as resolved. Okay. You see, without providing resolution code and notes, I am able to resolve this particular case. That means UI policy is not working from other sources. Okay. Getting my point. UI policy work only from the form. From the form, it is working fine. Now, what I am doing is I am going to create a data policy. So from the UI policy, you can directly create a data policy, guys. Open the UI policy. Scroll down and click on convert this to data policy. So you can just create a data policy from the UI policy. You can see you created a data policy. Data policy work from all other sources, including form. Let me just go to the form now. In the form, I am trying to keep the state as resolved. Okay, now I am keeping the state as resolved. When I keep the state as resolved, resolution code and notes has become mandatory. So that means data policy is working fine from the form. Okay. Now what I am doing is I am going to load the data. I'm going to load the data now. From the Excel sheet, I am not providing the resolution code and notes. It should not allow you to resolve. Data policy should work from all other sources, right? Data policy will not allow you to resolve it. Go to the transform history. It is showing complete with errors. What is that error? Scroll down here to the import set row. You can see data policy exception. The following fields are mandatory. Resolution code, resolution notes. Resolution code, resolution notes. Okay. So from the Excel sheet, if you don't provide the resolution code and notes, it is not allowing you to resolve. Let me try with the script now. From the script, I am trying to resolve it. What is that? Let me just take this particular record system ID. It is already in the resolve state. What is it telling? Data policy exception. The following fields are mandatory. So without providing resolution code and notes, data policy is not allowing you to resolve from all other sources. All other sources. And also we discussed one more requirement yesterday. What is that? Whenever the state is changed to on hold, the on hold reason field should become mandatory. It is getting mandatory from the UI policy. UI policy will work from only from the form, right? Okay. So we'll see if there is a data policy in place or not. There is no data policy in place. So we'll make, is there any UI policy? UI policy is true. UI policy is active. So UI policy is perfectly working fine from the form. So now what I'm doing is this record, I'm actually trying to mark it as on hold from the script. So on hold choice field is 3. Okay. So without on hold reason, I am able to mark the state as, without on hold reason, I am able to keep the state value as on hold here. That means UI policy is not working from the script. Okay. From the Excel sheet, if you try to keep it as on hold, okay. So without providing, here it is actually ignored. We have to change any value here. So without providing on hold reason, I am able to mark the state as on hold here. Is it not made as on hold? Okay, this particular record. So this particular record. Okay, in the Excel sheet, we mentioned this particular record, right? Okay, this particular record is made as on hold. So without providing on hold reason field, we are able to mark it as on hold. As per our client requirement, whenever you select as on hold, the on hold reason field should be mandatory. Without providing on hold reason, it will not allow you to submit. But we are able to submit, right? UI policy is working only from the form. Then what we have to do? We have to create a data policy. Okay. So this data policy already is created. I'm converting. So guys, here you cannot convert UI policy into data policy. Here, this UI policy, you cannot convert into data policy because this UI policy is controlling the visibility. Using data policies, you can't control the visibility. So let me just open this one. So in this UI policy, you have mandatory, visible, read only. If you go to the data policy, in the data policy, you don't have visibility option. You have only mandatory read only. You have only mandatory read only. Okay. Getting my point. Okay. Clear, right? So now this data policy is actually active now. So now I am actually trying to keep the state value as on hold. This particular state field value as on hold without providing on hold reason. Will it allow me to keep it in the on hold state or not? We'll see. So what is it telling? On hold reason. Data policy exception. The following fields are mandatory on hold reason. Okay. We'll try to do it from the Excel sheet as well. Go to the transform history. What is it telling? Completed with errors. Data policy exception. Go to the import set. You can see data policy exception on hold reason. Data policy is working from all other sources or not? Okay. Guys, here, as I mentioned already here, data policies are used to make fields mandatory read only at certain condition from all other sources. Whereas UI policy is used to make field mandatory read only, display the fields and related lists at certain condition in the form. Okay, fine. Guys, here the UI policy you can control. Okay. So in the data policy, you can't control views. You can't control views. Okay. So in the data policy, you can't control the visibility. In the data policy, you can't write script. In the data policy, okay, you can't control related lists. Getting my point? Because from different sources, there won't be any views. From the script, is there any view? So from the different sources, you can't see the fields. That is why you can't control the visibility. So in the another platform, you can't write script. Only on the form you can write script. In the you can't actually see related lists on the different sources. So that is why you can't control these things in the data policy. Okay. If a logic should work from all other sources, if a logic should work from all other sources, we should go for data policy. Okay. Do you understand the data policies concept, guys? Everyone, guys, do you understand the concept? I am unmuting everyone. Guys, do you understand the data policies concept?
Uday, only one thing like from Glide Record, we can't able to pass the view name. There is no scope.
No.
Okay. At table level only we can like okay. Means default it will applicable to all views, right? If you do something on script wise, right? From Glide Record or those things, so that will be default for all the views, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what like cannot control at view level. Okay.
Okay.
Hello there.
Yeah. Hi.
Uh, right, then we have to create data policy and uh, data policy for every UI policy. Is it like that? Except the visibility.
Hmm?
Except the visibility, we have to create the UI data policy for every UI policy. You can say like this. Whenever we create the UI policy, alternatively we have to create the data policy also.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. For most of the time, except the visibility thing, we have to create the I mean data policy as well when we create the UI policy.
Yeah. If it is something related to only form,
Yeah. Yeah.
then you have to go for UI policies. If the logic should work from all other sources, then you have to go for data policy.
Okay. Okay. Understood.
Okay. Guys, we'll take a small break and we'll continue for. Hmm? What do you say, guys? We'll take a small break and we'll continue another topic. Okay. So we are discussing UI actions topic. So UI actions are nothing but buttons. Which are clickable. Buttons which are clickable. If you go to the form, this update is actually a UI action button, which is clickable. If you scroll down, this one is also a UI action, which is clickable. If you right click, this one is also a clickable. This is a UI action. So UI actions are nothing but buttons which are clickable. Okay. So we have inside UI actions, we have server side UI action. UI actions work on both client side and server side. UI actions are both sides. If you take UI policies, you can blindly say client side. If you take client scripts, you can blindly say client side. But UI actions are both sides. It will work on client side, it will work on server side. Okay. By default, UI actions work on server side. By default, UI actions work on server side. So UI actions work on client side when you check the client checkbox in the UI action. You check the client checkbox. Okay. When you check the client checkbox, then the UI actions work on client side. By default, UI action work on server side. Okay. Well, when do we choose server side UI actions? When do we choose client side UI actions? If it is something related to database operations such as create, read, update, delete. When it is something related to database operations, then you will go for server side UI actions. If it is not related to database operations, then you will go for client side UI action. Getting my point? UI actions work on both sides. UI actions work on client side, UI actions work on server side. By default, UI actions work on server side. And if the client checkbox is checked, the UI actions work on client side. So how to choose client side UI action? How to choose server side UI action? If the requirement is about database operations, then you will go for server side UI actions. If the requirement is about a client side form not related to database operations, then you will go for client side UI actions. Okay. Clear, right? Okay. In the HR case form, I want to create a button called create incident button. I want to create a button called create incident button. Once I click on that button, it has to create an incident record in the incident table. Okay. So once incident record is created, incident number should be populated here. Okay. I have to create a button here called create incident. Once I click on this button, it has to create an incident record. That after creating the incident record, number should be populated in this field. Okay, Uday, you are telling fine. You have to create a button here, create incident. When you click on that button, it has to create an incident record. But in the incident record, which field values it has to populate? So HR case caller should go to incident caller. HR case short description should go to incident short description. HR case description should go to incident description. HR case configuration item should go to incident configuration item. HR case state should go to incident state. Getting my point? So here I have to create an incident record. It is create operation. It is a database operation. Then I have to choose server side UI action. You're getting my point? I have to create a button here called create incident, guys. After clicking on that button, it has to create an incident record in the incident table with the HR case details. And after that, that incident number should be populated here. Hmm? Clear, right? Just a moment, guys. Okay. So that button is nothing but a UI action. I am creating a UI action. Right click configure UI actions. I am creating a new UI action. Create incident. UI action name. UI action name you have to provide. HR underscore create underscore incident. Okay, if the UI action should also appear on the new form, you have to check this checkbox. If the UI action should appear only on the existing record, you have to check this checkbox. If the UI action should appear on the new form and existing record both, you have to check both the checkboxes. I want this UI action to be appearing only on the existing record. Okay. And these are all the places where you can actually show the UI action. Okay, let me create this button first. So this is an existing record, right? System ID is there. This is an existing record. You're able to see create incident button here. Once I click on this button, it has to create an incident record. That incident number should be updated in the incident field. Okay. So here you are able to see the create incident button. Here you are able to see create incident button. Here you are able to see create incident button. These three places where you can show the UI action. You can also show the UI action on the list as well. Go to the HR case list. You can see create incident UI action. Create incident. You can also see create incident here. So these are all the places where you can show the UI action, guys. I want to show it only on the form. You can also show the UI action on the list as well. Okay. So here, when you check this client checkbox, it will work on client side. By default, this checkbox is unchecked, right? So that it will work on the server side. So here in the script, I'm writing glide record to create a record. Incident, right? gr dot insert will create an incident record. So here you have to pass incident field values. Okay. So here in the incident caller, you want to pass HR case caller. So HR case field values are stored in the current object. Current dot u underscore caller. So you can use g underscore form dot get value, right? G underscore form dot get value is a client side API. That is why you can't use it here. That is why you will use current object. Current object is also used to get the field values. Current object is server side. Okay. 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 Team appoint. So we are creating the incident record with the HR case caller details. So what happens? Guys, keep yourself muted.
సోమవారం వెళ్తాం సోమవారం వచ్చి తేడా తిప్పుతాడని అడగాలి మరి పిచ్చి దాంట్లో తెలీదు అంటాం
Shivani, keep yourself muted. Okay. So whenever you click on create incident button, so script will be executed. Script will be executed. Script, what exactly it does? It will create a record on the incident table. Okay. So we are creating a UI action. UI action is nothing but button. It will appear on the form only on the existing records. It will work on the server side. This client checkbox is not checked. It will work on the server side. And here, that is why I've used glide record. Glide record is a server side API. And I've used current object here to get the HR case field values. So using HR case field values, I am creating an incident record in the incident table. After creating the incident record, I have to update that incident record in this particular incident field, right? Then what I am doing is, after creating the record, this line will give the system ID of the created record, where this is equal to, okay, front dot set value u underscore incident. Front dot date. So after creating the incident, created incident number, you are actually operating in the incident field. That field, this field name is incident, u underscore incident. Okay. Then after that, you have to make sure the record is on the same form. Okay. The record should be on the same URL. So for that, I am using action dot set redirect URL trend. Okay. Now let me just refresh this one. Let me enter the configuration item here. Okay. So whenever I click on create incident button, it is creating the incident record with these field values. That number is updated here. You open this particular number. Incident caller is actually, the HR case caller is coming as incident caller. HR case configuration item is coming as incident configuration item. HR case state is actually coming as incident state. Okay, HR case short description is actually coming as incident short description. HR case description is actually coming as incident description. Okay, whenever you click on this create incident button, what is happening? It is creating an incident record in the incident table with the HR case details. The incident number, we are populating it here and redirecting the URL to the same URL. If you see the script here, it's creating the incident record. It is populating the caller value as HR case caller. And it is creating the record, right? That incident number we are storing here, that system ID we are storing here, as incident is a reference field, right? That system ID we are passing here. Okay. We are updating the form using current.update. We are redirecting the URL to the same URL. Guys are clear, right? Okay. So as per my client requirement, for one HR case, there should be only one incident created. That means once incident is created, this button should disappear. Once incident is created, this button should disappear. So in that case, I am keeping the condition. What is the condition that I am keeping? This incident is, if this incident field is empty, only then show this button. If this incident field is empty, then show this button. If the incident field is not empty, hide this button. So for that, I am writing the condition here. Current dot u underscore incident equal to empty. Only then it will show the button. Okay. Now it is not appearing because incident is already created, right? If you remove this one, you will see the create incident button here. Okay. Getting my point? Okay. I have to create another button that is actually create problem. Whenever I click on that button, it has to create a problem record with the HR case details. And that problem number should be populated here in the problem field. What am I doing is, I'm just changing it to create problem. U underscore problem equal to empty. Problem table. There is no caller ID field in the problem table. Configuration item, short description, state, impact, urgency, priority, all values are there. Okay. So we have to populate in the problem field. So what are we doing now? We are actually showing a create problem field. Create problem UI action. So whenever you click on this button, it will create a problem record in the problem table. It will create a problem record in the problem table. That problem number is updated here. You can see here case configuration item is populated here. Case short description, case state we have to change it. State 101 I am keeping. Now the button is not appearing here because problem field is not empty, right? This is why the button is disappearing. So I am giving you two tasks here. I want you to create a button here called create problem, create change request. Whenever you click on that button, it has to create a change request with the HR case details. That change request number should be populated here. I am also giving you another task that is actually create request item. Whenever you click on that button, so request item table name is sc underscore req underscore item, guys. sc underscore req underscore item dot list is the requested item table. In the requested item table, okay, there is a configuration item. There is a state field. Okay. Short descriptions are not there. Populate configuration item. Caller has requested for state field value. Populate the state field value. populate the configuration item requested for as caller, and populate the state field value. Okay. So there is no short description and description here, right? Okay, map only 3 fields. So whenever you click on the here in the form, you have to show 2 buttons. One is actually create change request and create requested item. So whenever you click on create change request, it has to create a change request in the change request table. The change request details should be populated here. Whenever you click on create requested item, and it has to create a record on the requested item table, and it has to be appearing here in this field. So for one HR case, there should be only one requested item. For one HR case, there should be only one change request. Okay. Tomorrow we'll be discussing about client side UI actions. What do you say, guys? I have unmuted everyone. You guys are clear with the UI actions concept?
Uday, only one confusion is some like client side, server side, right? So there sometimes I am getting confused actually.
It is as simple as it is, Vamsi. If it is something related to database means
Okay.
creating the record, updating the record, filling
Yes,
the
yes.
records. You have to go for server side UI action.
Yes.
If it is not related to database related, tomorrow you will come to the conclusion. Okay.
Okay.
So if it is not something related to the database operation, okay, then it is a client side UI action. Let me give you one example here. So I have to create a button here called open incident. Whenever I click on that button, it has to open the incident form. It should not create it.
Okay.
It has to open the incident form. It should not create it. Creation is database operation. Opening is not a database related. Got my
Okay.
point? That is where you will use client side UI action.
Okay.
Any questions from anyone? Okay. So we'll be discussing client side UI actions in tomorrow's session, and how the UI actions work on both client and server both. Okay. Okay, guys, and see you there in tomorrow's session. And keep up your good work and see you there in tomorrow's session. Thank you.